We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
The Supreme Court is back in session, and it seems the justices are under fire once again. Well, not quite all of them. The three liberal justices are getting praised as stalwart defenders of the faith, whereas the conservative bunch are accused of destroying America. Now, Chief Justice John Roberts appears stuck in the middle, and many are saying that Clarence Thomas is the new ideological centre on the High Court. What's coming down the pipeline this week for liberty and law? Well, to help us figure that out, we're joined once again by constitutional lawyer and host of the excellent Uprising podcast, Scott DeCosenza, Esquire. Welcome back, Scott.
Hi, Mark. Thank you.
Before we get into case, I want to address this idea that either Clarence Thomas or even perhaps Neil Gorsuch are the new ideological centre at SCOTUS. So does this make sense, and what does it mean in practice?
Well, if we have a bar on a fulcrum and most of the weight is at one end of it, the center will position way off to the edge, right? So perhaps it's true that, as you say, that they are the center, but I don't think that's terribly meaningful in terms of where the country is or anything like that. It's just counting the votes. There was a time when Justice Sandra Day O'Connor was the most important justice in the United States of America. And in fact, the lawmaking went basically along the lines of, well, what will Sandra Day O'Connor approve of? That's what the country, that's what counted as constitutional. And then for a brief amount of time, that was true for Justice Roberts, but he's now off that with Trump's appointees. So it has been moving to the right. It's curious. I can't really see myself saying that Clarence Thomas is the ideological center because he's for so long been so far out there compared to his other justices with his stalwart defense of a text-based reading of the Constitution rather than the wishful thinking that I ascribe to so many of the other justices, namely to the left of him.
Okay. So, I mean, I feel this, that we've seen a shift in how the Supreme Court is viewed, not just in how it operates. You mentioned on a previous episode that public faith in the court, public trust, has dropped to just 40%. Now, do you think this is because everything has become so politicized? I mean, we never saw such major protests at the Supreme Court before. It seemed it was always kind of expected that some decisions would go one way, some would go the other. But now it kind of feels as though angry, predominantly left-leaning, angry public are treating the justices just like another bunch of politicians, as if they can harass them like Kirsten Sinema, for example, in a public bathroom. What's your take on this?
Well, to the second question, I would say that I think we have seen actually protests like we see recently at the Supreme Court. What we haven't seen, though, and you left it out in your example list, was that Justice Kavanaugh's home was besieged by protesters. Now, I don't think that they made any violent moves, but just to have one's quiet enjoyment completely ruined over days with people shouting and demonstrating, I don't think we've seen that before at the justices' homes. To the question about the public mood, that was those numbers were reported by the Gallup poll, Mark, and I believe that they were taken right after some major news story about, where the big box media just dumped on the Supreme Court for 72 hours. I don't think that it was I'm not suggesting Gallup coordinated that. I'm sure they had the poll in the mix before the news broke, but I think that's probably what drove those numbers so low. But yeah, the sense is that they are just political actors, and I think that that's not. I think that's a healthy reaction. The idea that these people are somehow, alabaster, non-human callers of balls and strikes is ridiculous.
All right, let's move on to the challenges faced by liberty this week. And I think one of the biggest cases is Texas Governor Greg Abbott. He banned private businesses from mandating vaccines for workers. Now, this is a direct contradiction to President Biden's federal mandate. Now, care to let us know who's going to win in this particular constitutional battle?
There's only losers in this constitutional battle, Mark, and they're the people.
As ever, Scott, I think that's the answer to everything. Who loses? People.
Yeah.
Yes.
They do, sadly. Yeah, it's both men acted without seeming authority, legal authority, that is. There's no federal law that seems to give the OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and the Labor Department, or the president or his secretary of labor, the power to do this. frankly speaking, preposterous that it would be okay for the president to just be able to come up with all these rules for on his signature for companies that affect, roughly a third of Americans. I think, the numbers are a bit nebulous to kind of nail down. And the same thing is true for Governor Abbott. It's really a shame. I think it's more of a shame for me, my reaction to the Abbott news rather than the Biden news. Biden has always sort of been a statist and acted in a way that doesn't necessarily respect the limits of government. But Abbott at least talks about that. And I even had a spokesperson say in August that they didn't think that the Texas government should regulate or run Texas businesses, that the business owners should do it. So this about face really seems to hurt in terms of a politician who you thought was going to respect individual rights. But now the business owners in Texas, as I wrote about in the pages of LibertyNation.com, Mark, it's a 180-day or 6-month sentence that the statute authorizes if you violate the Texas governor's order.
But isn't this just really a reaction to try and neutralize Joe Biden's mandate?
Oh, it's a tit for tat thing politically. Yeah, but you say, isn't it just? Like, that doesn't take away the 180-day prison sentence for people who are who might violate this law, or the $14,000 fine that has been laid out as the federal penalty for non-compliance. So do you want to pay $14,000 or do you want to go to jail for up to 6 months? And there's also a smaller fine in the Texas example. So yeah, it is just politics, which I think, honestly, it just makes Governor Abbott so diminished that he too, really, I likened the two of them to two mafia families arguing over some turf, who you're going to pay up to and who you're going to give tribute to. And it just seems like that.
Paulie Walnuts always wins.
Yeah.
Now, why did Abbott actually do this? So surely he knew that this would face some legal challenges, but is he hoping that individuals will bring case after case, and that will create an almost weight of impetus behind his position?
The Texas Statesman, I think the name of the publication is. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. Reported that this was in some large part in response to his primary challenger, who was attacking him from the right. So perhaps that's it. I'll just. This is rank speculation, but I will speculate that he thought it would get tossed out in court, and he'd get the credit for trying to rebuff the Biden administration on the political front, as being a hero of those of us who think that vaccine mandates are immoral or violate the law, or both, and not suffer the consequences of actually having to send people to jail for violating his law. That would be my guess, but okay. I don't know that there's any facts in the record to show that's the case.
Another story I feel we should address is that of Loudoun County. Now, a father accused a school board of hiding or covering up sexual assault perpetrated on his daughter by a trans female in school bathroom. Now, how credible are his allegations, both of the assault taking place and of the school board covering it up? And what's the fallout?
Okay, so the allegations are true, supported by, it happened. There was an arrest, and there is an ongoing prosecution of this person who sexually assaulted a 9th grader in the bathroom of the school. What caused what's in the news now is it's being revealed that this parent, who was kind of dragged out of a public school board meeting, the reason why is because the superintendent, Scott Ziegler, had said at the time that there was sort of no issue or problems with the trans bathroom issues that they were discussing. And the person who entered this girl's bathroom was a trans girl who then sexually assaulted this 9th grader. And so here's this father of a girl who was assaulted, a brutal assault, which was followed up by an arrest and a prosecution. Here, the superintendent of the school talk about how there's no issue, no problem. It's shocking that the school official would do that. This was at a school board meeting. Perhaps we're going to have to get the school board officials to take an oath to be under oath when they say these things. But that's what the story's about, and it is a fascinating kind of part of this story about bathroom access, where these trans activists seem to say that, it's preposterous to suggest that this is a security issue for young girls, which is what parents seem to be particularly motivated and animated about. And yet here we have a case in point where this is exactly sort of the worst fears, which is a person enters a bathroom, and attacks somebody.
It's surprising that it's the story about the father that is the big story, when really a sexual assault on a young girl hasn't made the papers so much, but a father being dragged from a school board meeting seems to tie in with Attorney General Merrick Garland's plans to set the FBI on parents who criticize school boards. Now, under Merrick Garland's plans, would this particular father also face threats from the FBI?
Oh, well, I don't want to even imagine what Merrick Garland thinks are appropriate prompts to generate an FBI investigation. I imagine this would be one, though.
Scott D. Cosenza, thank you ever so much.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of Liberty Nation Radio. Thanks to our guests, Scott Cosenza, Jeff Charles, Andrew Moran, and Dave Patterson. And as always, my sincere thanks to you at home for listening. It's a privilege for me, and I appreciate you all. A final thought for you, and circling back Jen Psaki style to William Butler Yeats, he ends the poem, "And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born?" I think this is a question the administration is asking itself right now. Is the rough beast the calamity of poor decision-making? Is it another 3 years of crisis after crisis? Or is it an avenger, determined to put an end to the incompetence and the lies? Thanks for listening. Till next time. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.